houses were built of concrete. Beautiful, lush green trees provided a canopy blocking out the hot sun. As I stepped out of the van, I was greeted by some of the sweetest people I have ever met. We met our host mom and walked into the house with a box of groceries in hand, a 5-gallon bottle of purified water, and my duffel bag. We walked into a concrete floor, steel roof, 3 rooms divided by plastic picnic tablecloths, a hut in the back that is the kitchen, a shower outside constructed of 4 tree branches wrapped with tarp that was about neck high, and a latrine across the street. In hindsight, there is something grounding about going to a well with 2 5-gallon buckets, pumping water, carrying them into the shower, and proceeding to dip a small bowl and pouring it over my head. I realized how much I have, yet how little I truly need. Rosario, my host mom, welcomed us. She put her arm around me and in Spanish told me that I am now a part of her family, to feel at home and let her know if I needed anything. I soon met her 5 beautiful children, and we settled in for the night.
I could hardly believe my eyes when I saw how they live. I had some certain expectations before going on the trip, but to say the least, I was not fully prepared for our stay in the village. I think having to take a dip and pour bath was the most culture-shocking experience for me. I can definitely say after returning, I am very thankful for a shower, warm water, and just the everyday small things we often take for granted. One moment that sticks out in my mind the most is when I woke up one morning to find the little girl who was staying in my house eating my leftover protein bar. She was playing in the dirt and scraping her fingers in the wrapper just to get what little bit was left. If anything, this trip has inspired me to be a better person. Even on my weakest days, I sit and reflect on what I have to be thankful for. I often take myself back to that week we spent in the village, and I can now say I am more physically and mentally stronger after returning on this trip. A quote that inspires me is "Live simply, so others may simply live."
The most amazing experience I believe I had through this trip, and I might sound like a scratched record repeating myself, but I can't seem to forget, is how much fun the kids had at BVS. These schools don't have much to work with, but the kids don't seem to mind. They would work and use anything around them. For example, they used a chair to build a boat so they could present an act on Jonah and the whale.
Out on the road, some of the village youth and some of the more youthful Los Angeles Presbyterians were playing a pickup game of kickball. I stopped to watch. Then I noticed others also watching, enjoying the game. A woman with a baby came by. Pretty soon, the bystanders started taking turns holding the baby. This became an important moment to me. Just being together, enjoying each other, and playing in the presence of God.
What made this experience so frustrating was not the lack of water or the lack of resources the community possessed, but the community did not have the ability to mobilize themselves in order to harness their resources. The water also served as a reminder that God was in control of our trip. One of our last nights in the community, there was a heavy storm. The community lost power. We sat in the dark as a group and sang hymns, listening as the rain beat down. What a humbling reminder of God's power.
Completo.
Mi nombre es Fernando Reyes Ocejotelle. La comunidad Nueva Vida Goyena. Yo laboré en el Ingenio San Antonio.
We first met with Fernando, who worked at the local sugar refinery at Ingenio San Antonio from 2005 until 2008. Some of the symptoms are pain when he urinates and body aches, especially in his lower back. They told him he had creatinine, and when the plantation estate found out, they fired him, even though they knew he wouldn't be able to get work elsewhere. They didn't give him any unemployment. He was left paying for his own doctor visits at private institutions. All he could afford for treatment are vitamins, iron and calcium, that only help him feel a little better. With no help from the government or his former employer, him and his family make ends meet by selling tortillas for 2 Cordobas, not even the equivalent of 10 cents. He believes what is causing the problems are in the village because even his children are having the same symptoms as he is. I asked if he knew any of his former co-workers that had the same disease. He replied yes, but they're all dead. As we left, he told us stories of many outsiders conducting tests, but had never returned to present them with results. Interviewing him was painful. You could sense the pain in his eyes. It left me wondering what will happen to his family. Then we met 18-year-old Isayana, who was 8 months pregnant. She had symptoms similar to Fernando, pain in the feet and lower back, including vomiting. Her infections got so bad she went to the hospital for 15 days. 2 months later, she had become pregnant. She's been receiving treatment, but instead of improving her condition, she told us that it was getting worse. There's a risk her baby may get anemia from her illness. She was told that she might have to have a C-section, but it would be risky because the baby's lungs may not have been fully developed. Thankfully, the baby has been getting into the position for birth, but at the same time, the baby risks receiving infections from her CRI as the pregnancy goes along. We asked if she was drinking the well water from the village, and she said yes.
Last July was my 3rd trip to Nicaragua to visit our partners in our cooperativa. Each time I go, I'm impressed by the progress that this community makes. On this last trip, we visited a dried fruit factory that is being built on land adjacent to Humberto's farm. This will provide desperately needed jobs for 40 women throughout the community. But in one of our meetings with the leaders of the cooperative, one comment caused a wave of pain to wash over me. Humberto apologized to us, saying that they were sorry if the living conditions in some of our homestays were uncomfortable for us. And I felt very bad that somehow, even with a language barrier, that they picked up on they must have picked this up from some of us in some way. But then it also indicated to me that we have built up a level of trust with them, which enables us to speak the truth in love to one another.
One experience that stood out among others was during my second night at my homestay's house. Their older son, Ezekiel, finally began to loosen up around me. We all sat at the porch that night watching television and listening to the rain when Ezekiel said something that touched my heart. "I will be very sad when you leave. You are one of a kind, and I haven't met many like you." Besides the kindness of the statement, I was touched by his sincerity. Most of all, I was touched by the fact that 2 complete strangers could become such good friends the following day. I could not believe how quickly God had shone his light upon me. That night, I made a new friend, and in a sense, I confirmed my obligation with the partnership of Nueva Vida. I believe that a partnership is a loving commitment in which both partners have something extremely significant to give each other. Also, I believe that there is a powerful bond between those in a partnership which can never be broken.